Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
My take is that this video is about 3 times worse than January 6th, so Peterson should probably be in prison.
Jordan Peterson makes a claim in here, which I think is the most contentious claim about Elliot Page. Got to make sure we're not dead naming. Obviously, that's like there's invading a sovereign nation, which a lot of people I think is no big deal, and then there's dead naming, which is like, oh God,
how dare you? How dare you?
The dead naming is like the genocide of an entire protected class of people. So Elliot Page is the actor who was not in the movie Inception, and he's this Twitter ban is over Elliot Page.
Mm-hmm.
But I went and looked up because I know there's a lot of scientific research on oh God, I'm so out of it right now. On contagion, social contagion, right? And in this video, Jordan Peterson makes a claim about he doesn't make it clear, obviously. That is one of the problems that I have with this video. But he's making a case that what Elliot Page is doing could be conceptualized as wrong because it's creating a social contagion. So I went and I looked up this article on social contagion in the media. Obviously, this has to do with suicide. It doesn't have to do with trans issues. But one of the things that I've highlighted here, it says, so this is health reporters, not crime reporters, are best positioned to cover suicide and factors for journalists and editors, producers to consider before covering suicide-related content. And one of these things here, under number one of the bullet points is weigh the story's noteworthiness and public's need to be informed of potential harm related to contagion. And it says, be especially cautious when reporting on celebrities or youth suicides, as they currently have the strongest evidence of contagion. So when celebrities kill themselves, this is a warning for media people to be aware that if you go talking about celebrity suicide all willy-nilly, a bunch of fucking stupid kids are going to go out and kill themselves because that's what they do. So I'm postulating that if people are going to go out and kill themselves over this thing called social contagion, the Elliot Page story could be creating false positives for gender dysphoria. Does that seem like a logical argument to you, Sitch?
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't. The problem with the video is he doesn't really.
He doesn't make that. He doesn't make that argument clearly, which I have a ton of problems with this video, and it sounds like you have a ton of problems with this video too.
Yes,
I feel like we're witnessing Jordan Peterson in his like final form here. Like he's come out, he's the egg has matured, and he's finally come out, and you're going, oh my God, it's evil.
Well, I don't think it's. I mean, I don't think Jordan Peterson is evil. I wouldn't go.
Well, I do feel like this video is so strange to me. Like, first of all, look at this thing. It looks like it was shot in a fucking Hollywood movie studio.
Okay, this is Jordan Peterson's Birmingham jail letter. Okay,
but that in and of itself, in and of itself, first of all, based analogy. Okay, that's right on the money, and the fact that this is a kind of anger somebody expresses when they're banned from Twitter, as opposed to being actually incarcerated.
Well, okay, wait. It's no. Well, you're not giving enough credit. It's what the ban represents. Okay, it's not the action. The physical action behind it.
Okay. Maybe we should just get into the video then.
We should.
Okay. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. A few days ago, I penned an irritated tweet
Did you play it? Because I
in
don't
response to one of
I hit play. Yeah, maybe you got to refresh.
Oh, wait.
or
Let
something.
me refresh.
There you go.
Okay.
You hit play.
Okay.
See if it starts for me.
Hello, everyone. A few days ago, I penned an irritated tweet in response to one of the latest happenings on the increasingly heated culture war front. In response to the decision of an actor named Ellen Elliott Page, I am employing this awkward and impossible naming style because it is now apparently mandatory, and am probably doing it wrong nonetheless, as you're doing it wrong is the whole point of what is being made mandatory.
Okay, so there seems to be a clear argument against the language games that are going on. I think Ned, Talk to Ned or something like that. He's a YouTuber. I think he's pretty popular. He shared this video as soon as it came out. And I responded to him sharing it on Twitter saying, Jordan Peterson's upset about the language games. And that seemed to be completely missing from a lot of people's perspective on this video.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
And I think, and this is where I have a problem, because look, Sitch and I may one day want to do a stream on Inception. Inception's a great fucking movie, okay? But we have...
Is it though?
See, I'm sure we could do 3 hours on Inception. I think Inception is a fucking dynamite movie. Sitch obviously thinks it's terrible, but that's because he hates the actor Elliot Page. Look, we might want to do a fucking stream on Juno. How the fuck are we going to do that? It's about... You know what Juno is about? Juno's...
Yeah, I know. It's about Elliot Page being pregnant.
Are we allowed to say that Juno is about a woman giving birth, or do we have to say a birthing slave, a pregnant person? What do we have to say?
Mm-hmm.
The movie's literally about a birthing slave.
Right.
So I'm fully against the language games that we have to play here. And the reason, look, the follow-up conclusion I saw today was they banned Dave Rubin now for dead naming Elliot Page. Did you know that?
He had a picture of the tweet that Jordan Peterson
But
posted.
in the tweet, he used the dead name of Elliot Page.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why his account got banned.
Well, I wonder if it's because he did it or because he posted the picture of the deleted tweet, or maybe a combination of two things. Either way, I disagree with both.
These language games are fucking bullshit.
I agree.
They're complete bullshit, and they're designed to get people's political adversaries banned from platforms. Right. That's the whole point of it. They know that if Jordan Peterson comes out and says, vote for Ron DeSantis, they're going to fucking lose their minds. They're like, we got to get him off the platform. Millions of people listen to him. If he endorses DeSantis, we're done.
Right.
That's exactly what's happening here. So these language games are they're a game to get these people banned for political reasons. It's terrible.
But also...
Oh, hold on. I'm going to be gone for like 20 seconds. But I'll have the Jordan Peterson video playing on my phone. So if you want to keep going. So.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to make a point. I've essentially been banned from Twitter as a consequence. I say banned, although technically I have been suspended. But the suspension will not be lifted unless I delete the hateful tweet in question, and I would rather die than do that. And hopefully it will not...
See, I should have checked. I saw rumors that he actually deleted the tweet going around. So... taking a strong stance like I'd rather die than delete the tweet, and then deleting the tweet is a bad look. A very bad look. I saw Lance of the Surfs was saying that he deleted the tweet, and so was Stephen Michael Davis, who I don't trust Lance of the Surfs. Well, I mean, we've had him on the show and stuff, and he seems to be an honest interlocutor with me, at least. I wouldn't trust his perspective on Jordan Peterson as far as I could throw it. But Stephen Michael Davis seems like a straight shooter to me. So if he's saying Jordan Peterson deleted the tweet, maybe he did.
Come to that, although who the hell knows in these increasingly strange days. What was it that I said that caused such a fuss? And that fuss is just beginning. And even more importantly and complexly, what exactly was it that I said that resulted in the ban? Here is the tweet in question. Remember when pride was a sin? And Ellen Page just had her breasts removed by a criminal physician.
So I'm sure they banned him for dead naming. I'm sure that's the...
I think it was a combination of that and saying it was a criminal physician.
Right.
And then a combination of the pride. Like, what does it mean? What does pride mean in that context? There's a lot to get people triggered over by this tweet.
Can you look up, because I saw Stephen Michael Davis shared a tweet saying that Jordan Peterson deleted the tweet, and I saw Lance of the Surf saying the same thing. And I looked, I couldn't find the tweet, but I don't know if Jordan Peterson deleted it or if Twitter deleted it for him, or maybe he just had his assistant delete it, and he was like, "I'd rather die than delete this tweet. Son, will you go delete the tweet for me?" Which, is that a good look? That's not a good look either, right?
I saw people were mocking him for deleting the tweet, but he hasn't posted on Twitter.
Oh, he hasn't?
I mean, did he delete the tweet and then not post? Like, I didn't know what they were talking about.
I don't know the situation either. Yeah.
So.
And then a link to a story that detailed out the...
Oh, but wait, we got to talk about this tweet, though.
Because you got to talk about the link to the story. Did you look at the link to the story?
Oh, I didn't look at the link. What is
I
the link
didn't either, yeah.
I think the tweet was banned, deleted before I ever had a chance to look. What even is the story? Wait.
I don't know. It's a taco link.
Give me the link.
https://t.co-I lowercase I capital X capital C 1 capital H lowercase a capital Y Z lowercase z U F capital F. Did you get all that?
I did. It's gone.
The story's gone? The what?
It goes nowhere because I guess it goes through Twitter, so you can't see it.
Oh, they deleted it. What a fucking...
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, but okay. I don't like that he said. Well, let's go through. Should we go through the tweet line by line, or should we wait to see? Should we wait till we get further in the video?
I mean, your call. Go for it.
Okay, we'll go through line by line. Remember when pride was a sin?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that sentiment. The problem I would put forward is that he doesn't explain what that means.
Right.
Like, I think I know what he means by that because I'm charitable. I think what he's saying is like, listen, just having excessive pride in oneself is a sin and leads you to have bad outcomes. And we should not just have excessive pride in ourselves. We should be humble. We should have humility.
But it can also mean being gay is a sin.
Yes.
And that's the problem. Yeah.
Right. And so that's how a lot of people who don't like Jordan Peterson will take it as meaning that he's saying being gay or being trans is inherently a sin.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Is what my question though is, and it goes back to Jordan Peterson in his final form here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that deliberate? Is that I'm doing this because I know this will get a lot of engagement and really piss a lot?
No, because he lowercase the P for pride. It's not a capital P.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that was his intention. I think it's also just Twitter. You know, you say things in very short bursts. So
yeah, so he's sitting on the toilet. He's just like, here, I'll crap out a tweet real quick. I know what I'll tweet about. This.
Yeah.
So do you think the tweet and the ban was just random, and then the choreographed video directed by Steven Spielberg is an afterthought?
You mean this video?
Yeah, this video was obviously. I mean,
Obviously,
this
this
is
video
a
was
big
made
budget
a
production.
reaction. Obviously, this video was made in reaction to being banned. So it wasn't when he was writing this tweet. I don't think he was writing a tweet that he thought would get him banned.
This is a scripted, polished video. Jordan Peterson put on a suit. A gaffer was hired to light this thing. I mean, this was shot in
the Daily Wire.
studio.
He probably went to Daily Wire studio and they probably set it all up or whatever.
Yeah, so he had to drive to the Daily Wire studio.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So that's the first sentence. I think there should have been some clarity, some more clarity. Maybe couldn't fit in the first tweet. Maybe there should have been a follow-up tweet about pride. What exactly pride means.
Be precise in your speech, Jordan. Someone told me that one time.
Right. But if that was the only thing, I would be like, well, I think people should give them the benefit of the doubt before they freak out. I think the real problem comes from the combination of the dead naming, which I don't really care about, but the part I do care about is saying Ellen Page had her breast removed by a criminal physician. Criminal physician.
Yeah, his argument on that is kind of weak, but
what does that mean? A criminal physician. It's not against. First of all, it's not against the law for people to have their breast removed. It's not against the law for people to transition. So I don't. So is he's making a moral claim? Well, if he's making a moral claim, then he's saying that, well, it's not a legal claim, but that the physician should not have removed her breast. But then that means that he's weighing in, making the determination that he thinks either A, Ellen Page doesn't have gender dysphoria, or B, that even if she does have gender dysphoria, or he now has gender dysphoria, that they should not have transitioned in the first place. And I think making either of those claims is kind of stupid, because Jordan Peterson doesn't obviously have the prerequisite knowledge about whatever Page's life situation is to make that determination.
Right. He can't diagnose her with gender dysphoria or not.
Right. So that's to me, and this was really bizarre because usually from my experience, Jordan Peterson has been very careful to not make these sorts of broad sweeping claims about people or things in this fashion. So I don't know why he tweeted this out the way he did, unless he's just saying all gender transition surgeries are wrong for everyone 100% of the time.
This is the smoking gun that the wokies have been looking for. This really is.
Well, yeah, definitely against calling him a transphobe. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you're feeding into their. You're giving ammunition to them. My question is why? Is it accidental? The follow-up video leads me to believe it's not accidental.
No, it's not accidental. If Jordan Peterson's going to come out with a claim, Jordan Peterson's always been very and even after this, when he had his conversation with David Rubin, he was saying, the point of a therapist is the role of a therapist is not to affirm nor deny, whether you're gay or trans. It's the question, or not. He said not to affirm or deny your identity. It's to question your identity and how you feel about your identity. And it's weird because I agree with that completely. And that seems like such a more nuanced, correct statement than just making a blanket statement against anyone transitioning ever.
So people are giving me a hard time. Well, maybe they're giving you a hard time too in the chat, saying, obviously they think Jordan Peterson is saying based and great things, valuable, true things here. My interest, and this is why I have a problem with this, is because I do think there's this thing going on called social contagion that a lot of people are ignoring and a lot of institutions are ignoring to the detriment of young people. And it would be helpful if we had knowledgeable, famous psychologists speaking intelligently about this argument. If there were people who are saying, there are people with gender dysphoria in the world, those people exist, but there's a lot of people who don't have gender dysphoria, and they're being gaslit by the culture into thinking that they have gender dysphoria through social contagion and through just inept reporting. And Jordan
Right.
Peterson is the perfect guy to be that person. But not after this tweet and this video. He's not. He's gone down the same exact road as James Lindsay has, when James Lindsay could have been a voice of reason against the fight for critical race theory, and now he seems like a conspiracy theory loon on Twitter. So, well, I understand you guys might think James Lindsay is base and hardcore, and you love what he's saying and how he's poning all the wokies on Twitter. All he is doing is preaching to the choir. He's not making persuasive arguments to the fucking kingmakers, the ones who are the rational, reasonable people who are going to be voting and deciding between the two insane sides and actually swinging public policy.
Right.
And I feel like Jordan Peterson could have been one of those people, but now it seems like he's swinging more to, I'm just going to preach to the choir. I'm going to make a shitload of money off of being based and fucking hardcore to my conservative
Right. So
audience.
I want to make something clear, though.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people in our chat think
Mm-hmm.
that this don't agree with this tweet and think it was wrong, or they think it was either wrong or stupid for Jordan Peterson to tweet this out.
Mm-hmm.
So for just people who are just listening, I don't want you to make it sound like, because sometimes people, they try to use our audience against us. So,
Mhm.
our audience is so crazy. So
Right.
So
Well, no,
and I don't want it always.
you're
like,
against. I'm against this tweet. You're against this tweet, right? Just to be
right,
clear
but no,
here.
but I'm saying I don't.
But there are a lot of people in the chat who are not against this tweet.
No,
who
there
think
are. Yes,
this
there
tweet
are
is
some people.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I'm fixating on.
Okay.
Okay, we have a tendency
Mhm.
to fixate on only the people that disagree with us.
Mhm.
It's very common on Twitter. You can have 100 likes, you have one person that disagrees with you, and you fixate on the person that disagrees with you. I don't want that.
We're going against 80% of our audience here, though.
We're
Sitch.
not. I'm looking at the chat. Most people don't. Most people agree that this tweet was stupid.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all I'm
Gotcha.
laying out here.
Gotcha.
Okay, most people
Okay.
do agree that this tweet was stupid.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Right.
But I've
And-
laid out, regardless, I've laid out my argumentation why I think it's stupid.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying and comparing it to James Lindsay is correct. And what I was getting at, which is that Jordan Peterson tends to, at least when it comes to psychology, was basing his opinion on psychological research, and he even talks about this in the Dave Rubin interview.
Okay. Good.
And if he wanted to make an argument that he thinks no one should transition, he can make that argument if he's going to cite a study or something, saying like, according to this study, according to this research, no one should transition. Okay. My knowledge, my understanding is that no, people that do have gender dysphoria do benefit from transitioning. And that has been found in the evidence repeatedly.
Right. But
The question
Yeah,
the question
go ahead.
is, are there a bunch of people now that are transitioning that don't have gender dysphoria who
Right.
don't regret it?
Yes.
Right. And that has to be separated from, do people with gender dysphoria accrue a benefit from it? And so if he was going to make this argument, which if that is his argument that no one should transition, he should make it in a more clinical sense that he generally makes other claims,
Well,
as opposed to kind of a hyperbolic Twitter claim.
and this is why I brought up the stuff on suicide in the beginning of the video, is because
Right.
there is a further claim here that, okay, even if we do accept that people have gender dysphoria, and maybe Elliot Page has gender dysphoria and is doing this with a legitimate medical condition to deal with, even if that is the case, because they are a celebrity and have this ability to persuade people and maybe create more false positives with gender dysphoria, which I think reasonable people will think that's a bad thing to happen in society, right? I think people on the far left are like, oh no, it's fine. Who cares if we get false positives? That's not even a thing. You're dreaming.
Right.
I think as a society, we would need to have a conversation about whether or not it's ethical. And we've already had this conversation about suicide. Like they literally to the point where they're, if a celebrity kills themselves, they don't, ethically it's dubious to explain exactly how they did it. I mean, they tried to tailor the story so that you're not going to get a wave of suicides after that. I mean, in that same kind of thinking would go into a celebrity transitioning, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And yeah, if he wants to make that point, I agree with that point completely. I think that was part of his point that he was trying to get at.
But it's not clearly articulated.
Well, it's not clear.
In this video, it's not. Yeah.
Right.
Which ones be precise in your speech? I mean, that's pretty high up on the list thing.
The response from, quote, violating our rules against hateful conduct. You may not promote violence against, threaten, or harass other people on the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease. By clicking delete, you acknowledge that your tweet violated the Twitter rules. Delete. If you think we've made a mistake, submit an appeal to us. Please note that should you do so, your account will remain locked while we review your appeal.
So people in the chat are asking me to do a poll on whether or not they agree with Jordan's tweet or not. That seems relevant. Do you care if I do one?
Yeah, if people really want it, sure.
Let's take this apart. First, it is clearly the case that I did not promote violence against or threaten anyone with my missive. So that leaves the arguably lesser sin of harass. Let's assume, since I wasn't informed, that that was the crime. And further, harassment on the basis of so-called gender identity, since Twitter did not do me the favor of actually specifying my crime, and there are many possibilities on that front. We unfortunately have to guess at why this has occurred, and that's actually a big problem in and of itself, and also indicative of the utter carelessness of the Twitter organization with regard to the propriety of its own censorial actions. I should at least know exactly what I did wrong if I am required to acknowledge that my tweet violated the Twitter rules. What rules, you sons of bitches? Exactly. Precisely. Because such things matter when the accusations start flying.
I'm trying to remember who I was listening to. Someone who was making fun of this. They kept making fun of this part, which to me, this part is 100% true. 100% true. That if you're going to accuse people of violating your rules, you need to explain what exactly they said that the violation is and how it's a violation. And that's the big problem that I have with Twitter and YouTube and all these things, is none of them actually do any of this. It's all just shrouded in fucking mystery.
Yeah, it's language games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you violated our rules. Well, how? Well, we're not going to tell you. It's like, well,
I agree with everything Jordan is saying on this point. That we
100%.
Can't construct a society where the rules are just completely unclear. Equal protection under the law doesn't work if nobody knows what the fucking law is.
Right. And I'd actually be in favor in legislation that forces social media companies and YouTube that if they're going to hand out warnings or bans or strikes, that they have to actually explicitly tell you what the problem is and how it's a violation.
I'm having trouble on the poll, Sitch. Do you agree with Jordan Peterson's tweet? Was it helpful? Was it wrong? Should it have been done? Should he have done it? Should it have been more clear? Like, what question should I even be asking here?
I don't know. Just forget the fucking poll. Who cares about the poll?
Everyone wants it. Are you kidding me? And I'm curious myself. No, I'll work it out. If you don't want to give any input, then
I don't think it's that important.
I am curious how many people are against Jordan Peterson on this poll. I just don't want to word it in a way that's confusing.
Okay, so do you
agree with Jordan Peterson's tweet? I think is the crux of it.
Sure, just say that. Do you agree with Jordan? Well, you can add more than two options. Do you agree with Jordan Peterson's tweet? Yes, fully. Yes, but I think it was worded poorly.
Okay. Yes. Yes. No. And He should have made it clear. How about that?
Well, but here's part of the problem. We're trying to guess what Jordan Peterson's interpretation, well, like what he was trying to say with the tweet is. And I don't fully know or understand what he was trying to say with the tweet.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem.
Well, maybe that should be an option too. I don't even understand what Jordan Peterson's. I don't know what he's trying to say. That's
So-
part of why I think the poll is kind of useless, is because I don't think it is clear what he's saying. So
Well,
we're
that's
kind of all
that's a good point. Yeah.
kind of projecting our own interpretation into what it means.
Yeah, because if you agree with it, you don't necessarily. I mean, you're agreeing with it based on your interpretation of what Jordan Peterson has said.
Right,
but
because
not-
to me, this would be the first time I've ever seen him make the claim that no one should transition, which
Right.
I'm pretty sure he's in the past explicitly said the opposite of that.
well, maybe
So
he's
that's why
changed his
I-
position. That's why it's.
Well,
it
that's
would
why I'm
be
saying,
nice
I
if
don't
it was
know.
clear.
I don't know, right? I don't know.
Okay.
So what did I say that might constitute harassment? Well, many things, hypothetically. Let's begin with, remember when pride was a sin? Although that is merely a factual statement, because under the old rules applicable even a decade ago, pride was a sin and had been recognized as perhaps the cardinal sin for thousands of years previously. It still might be regarded as unacceptable to the woke authoritarian moralists who now insist, for example, that we celebrate Pride Month, not hour or day or week, but month, and who have literally called it Pride Month instead of LGBT plus month or...
So there's a complication here that he's not addressing, which I agree with, like the overarching point that having excessive pride, you want to have some pride. Having excessive pride is a sin and is bad and leads people to having, leads people to bad life outcomes. Okay. I agree with all that. The thing he's not really addressing is the reason for why it's called pride. And it's because it's a complete pushback to
Against shame. Yeah, the opposite.
Yes, to what was classically far-right people, classically being anti-gay, because it was way before any of the trans stuff came out, saying you should be ashamed for being gay. We should shame gay people into being straight. And so the pride label is literally just like, well, you should not be shamed for being gay. You should take pride in the fact that you're gay, which to me is, I agree, like, is stupid. No one should take pride in their sexual orientation. But I understand that, like, the reason it developed the way it was a counteraction to the shaming of being gay.
Right. The context. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
important.
exactly. The context is very important. Now, if you want to make the argument, like I just made, that I think it's dumb to continue that pride label going forward in the future, because no one should have pride in their sexual orientation, then you can make that argument.
Mm-hmm.
whatever else acronym which is currently insisted upon as the only acceptable enlightened terminology. I don't regard pride as a virtue. It has been classically regarded as a sin. I don't see that sexual orientation or sexual desire of any sort is something to celebrate or to take pride in. And so what I said was merely a fact. Now, it's possible that I hurt someone's feelings because I pointed out that pride goes before, for example, a fall, but I don't care.
He didn't point that out, though. That's not in the tweet. What's he talking about?
Yeah, it might have been another tweet or something. I don't know. He had a couple tweets, I think, that were in relation to this.
Okay.
But
some context would be nice. If you wanted to talk about those tweets, you should include those in your video. You might want to give that note to Steven Spielberg, who's directing your video now. See, I'm so triggered by the production value in this video.
Why?
It's just it's so fake to me. It's just the ultimate. It's pro Felicity on fire here. It's so inauthentic. Yeah. This is my authenticity, moral intuition just screaming. Like, no, Jordan, what happened to you?
What about the pro Felicity? Okay.
What?
What about the pro Felicity?
What do you mean, what about the pro Felicity?
You're like, I care so much about the authenticity.
I do. Well, it's authenticity in relation to prophilicity it's an interesting perspective because I mean he's just thrown authenticity away. This is like a status play that I don't think is
Right.
helpful.
Oversized
How about-
Trash Panda sent us the link that we were trying to get to. It was a lowercase L, not a number one. It was an article from the New York Post called "Elliot Page is proud." That's where the pride comes from. Is proud to introduce trans character on Umbrella Academy. So there you go. That was the article he was reacting to.
Right.
that would do it again, and also consider it my duty to warn those who are about to fall into a pit that the path they are on leads suddenly downhill. But that was probably not the reason that I was banned from Twitter, although, as I said, I am...
Yeah, looking at that article too, this is part of the issue which you laid out with the tweet, is that like I can concoct or create a good faith understanding of Jordan Peterson's tweet, but you're gonna have like all the normies, they're not gonna have any of that. They're just gonna have like, you know, some newspaper is gonna slap that tweet on and say Jordan Peterson, big transphobe, you know, hates gay people.
Yeah, and I can't in good conscience defend Jordan Peterson anymore after this. I mean, the normies have won. He looks like a huge fucking transphobe.
Yeah, it's not a good tweet.
Yeah. Geez, sorry guys.
Even if you agree with it, it's not a persuasive tweet.
Sorry guys.
It's not a good tweet.
in the position of having to guess. Next phrase to interrogate. And Ellen Page.
All of this completely comes off as backpedaling too, which is just
How so?
not. I just like what is the purpose of all of this comes off as rationalizing the tweet.
Well, he's not. I mean, he's not making excuse. I don't know what you mean. But he's not making excuses for it. He's like doubling down.
Well, he is explaining it in a way that would be like the good faith interpretation of it, but he's not at all mentioning that there is this other interpretation of it that a lot of people will take away. And if you've written a book called where one of the rules is be precise in your speech, you're fucking guilty of not being precise in your speech, and you should take some personal responsibility for that. And I don't see any of that taking place here.
Okay. I mean, I don't interpret this that way at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't. It doesn't feel like he's rationalizing or making. I mean, I understand what you're saying. He didn't bring up in relating to pride how people would interpret it.
You brought up
maybe
the juxtaposition for pride. He just comes off as a total homophobe in this video. How does he not?
Well, he did. To be fair, he did say, "I don't think anyone should have pride in their sexual orientation," but he said it like once, as opposed to that being like the primary focal point of what he's trying to get at.
Right.
And he has to, and I would agree, if he wants to, in my opinion, if you wanted to make this video effective, you would have to lay out what I said, which is, I understand why they use the term pride, but here's why I think it's a bad idea.
Right. And that would
you'd have to steel man their position, or just at least understand their position.
That would be a persuasive argument that would speak to the kingmakers.
Sure.
This is not speaking to the kingmakers. This is giving red meat to the base.
To be fair, nothing he says after in the video is going to change anyone who hates Jordan Peterson's mind anyway. It's really the initial tweet that's the problem. Because once that tweet's out there, it doesn't matter how he explains it. They will always say, like, even if Jordan Peterson gave the perfect explanation for this tweet, okay? Mm-hmm. People would still say, "Oh, he's just lying." You know, the original tweet is the truth. That's his real dog whistle or whatever. That's what he really believes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now that doesn't mean he shouldn't give a good explanation. I think he should. I'm just saying I don't think it would matter to most people if he gave like the perfect explanation of the tweet.
Yeah.
Now, why did I stop there? Because in all likelihood, it was this seemingly innocuous phrase, including the name of a well-known actress, there I'm in trouble again, that like...
So phony. So phony. I feel like they had 4 takes and they were like, oh, I think I like 4 better. Where you kind of do the thing with your hands. Oh, that's so, you totally nailed it on that one.
Are you personally offended by this because we're like the Jordan Peterson defense force? So you feel like you've been wasting your time defending
I do.
Jordan
I
Peterson?
totally do.
Okay.
I totally do. Like
Gotcha.
there is a problem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There is a problem that Abigail Schreier wrote a very cogent book about. Okay. Jordan Peterson had the opportunity to do some real good on that problem. And he's completely abdicated his responsibility here. And I feel personally offended by that.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. Well, that's different than what I said, but that's more a noble thing than what I said. But okay, I agree with that. I agree with what you said.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you say?
Well, the difference between being upset because you're like, I wish like Jordan Peterson had a good opportunity, he threw it away, versus saying I'm upset because I've defended Jordan Peterson and now he makes me look stupid.
I have invested in him being the person to address this issue.
Oh,
and now I
right.
realize that
Gotcha.
he's not going to address that issue.
Okay.
No one is addressing this issue. Like we
Right.
fucking talk about this issue all the time.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand.
in my ban, I committed the fatal crime of what has come to be known in the appalling sensorial terminology of the insane activists as dead naming, which is the act of referring to someone who has transitioned, another hated piece of jargon and slogan, by the name and by the inference, the gender, really the sex, that everyone knew them by previously, and in the case of Ellen/Elliot, that millions of people recognized and knew. So I should have either called him, her, they, Elliot, instead of Ellen, although as we will discover, that would have made it impossible for me to say what I wanted to and need to say in the remaining phrases. Not that such a problem would bother those who are objecting to my speech in the first place.
Do you think that you can win?
The next phrase is just...
Yeah.
Do you think that you can win?
Mm-hmm.
You understand the complex social dynamics of what's going on here with the whole trans situation.
Regarding what?
Well, the fact that there's like a social contagion component to this,
yes,
and that
right,
everybody
right.
is ignoring, including
Yes.
the medical community.
Yes.
So, I mean, we have a lot of work to do if we want to turn this ship around, as far
Yes.
as a lot of young people are getting false positives for gender dysphoria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you can just beat people into submission on this? Do you think that is something like, could DeSantis just make a law saying transitioning is illegal and that would be a solution to this problem?
No, I don't think that is a solution. And it caused, I mean, that was what they tried to do in Texas, and it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was worse because it wasn't a law; it was like an executive order. But no, I don't think that will work. I don't think that will work.
I think there are a lot of people that do think that is the only path to take. That you have to beat these people into submission.
No, yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Okay.
Because it would be, you can't. You literally couldn't beat people in submission. And you don't want to have like a state by state, different laws for whether kids can or people, not even kids, people can transition depending on different states. This would be a whole clusterfuck of ideas. But I think you said this earlier, and I think you're right, actually. I think the only reason they probably banned him was because of the dead naming. Because Twitter considers dead naming someone as like you trying to get them to commit suicide or something crazy like that.
Which is also not based on relevant science.
Right, right. So yeah, I think if he would have had the exact same tweet, but said Elliot Page, I think he wouldn't have been banned,
Yeah,
which is kind of ironic because I think that the dead naming is not. I think the criminal doctor is worse than the dead naming. But I don't think dead naming is that big a deal. But
Mhm. What did I say? What did I say on the poll? I think I said 80%. It's 37% agree with him. So would you have thought it was that high?
yeah, but see, I told you. Yeah, it's not.
I always think of
Uh,
that Karen Stenner study where Karen Stenner basically, she's done the research on the authoritarian personality, and she says about 30% of the population are authoritarians, and
So,
they aren't activated until they feel the culture is spinning
okay.
out of control.
First of all, I don't want to attribute that to our audience. Okay,
There are definitely Look, 30%.
there are, but there
you
are.
think
But I'm saying
you think we
regarding this
escaped?
poll, okay.
30% of the population are authoritarians.
Yeah.
You think
I understand
you're
that. I
escaping
understand
that?
I think we are to some degree, yes. Obviously, like if you were to poll our audience on authoritarian tendencies versus like John Doyle's audience, okay,
Mhm.
John Doyle's going to be like 80%
Yeah,
authoritarians.
90%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have like 5 to 10%. Okay, I think it's gonna be much less than the average. Okay, so I don't agree. I don't think you
Well,
should
this is
attribute that to
this is
poll.
why I asked about the. This is why I asked about whether or not you could deal with this issue with authoritarian tactics, because I think there are a lot of people who think you can deal with it with authoritarian tactics.
Right. So so far we have 321 people voted. We have 37% say they do agree with Jordan Peterson, 18% say they don't, 33% say he should have made it clearer, and 12% say I have no idea what he means.
I know this poll.
So a lot more, yeah. So in the total, a lot more people in the no or I don't understand what the fuck he means.
Right. Well,
Well, okay.
yeah.
So yeah,
About 63%. Is that what it is?
yeah, right.
Had her breasts removed. This bit suffers from a very similar problem. I employed the forbidden pronoun her when Ellen, is now to be regarded as a he or else. But there's a conundrum here, to say the least, and not just for me, although I have been banned because of it. Was Elliot/Ellen a she or a he, or Ellen or Elliot, when she or he or they, that's Elliot or Ellen, by the way, had his or her or their breasts removed? If he or she was a he, then why was it necessary to have the mastectomy? And how could those...
This is so irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't. To me, this is
So
very
fucking irrelevant for a psychologist.
It's I understand the point he's making, but in the context of the tweet, it feels pointless.
I just
because it's
feel
like
this is
like-
where Jordan Peterson goes from being a psychologist to a pundit on the Daily Wire.
well, I'm not as triggered by it as you are. I don't like it, but
Mhm.
like this argument that he's making, like that's a relevant argument in terms of trying to determine whether
They have gender
Gender-
dysphoria. Yes.
well, no, whether gender is biological and whether gender dysphoria is biological and whether it's really should even be called gender dysphoria instead of sex dysphoria, because they're really trying to change their sex and not their gender, because they're trying to change their biological sex characteristics. And so there's an argument to make about that. But in terms of like the tweet being deleted and whether you should be dead naming people or not, that's kind of, it doesn't have anything to do with it. Like
the language games are irrelevant to the.
yeah, the language games are well, in terms of this point, are kind of irrelevant because like
Totally.
when he says, if he wrote in the tweet, Elliot Page had his breasts removed, everyone would understand what he's saying. Like there wouldn't be a confusion to anyone. Like, what does he mean his breasts? How does Elliot Page have breasts? Like everyone would understand like what's being said there by that sentence.
Yeah.
I am writing to make sense of what I was saying if it was his breasts that were removed. Were those male breasts or female breasts that were removed? If they were male breasts, then why were they removed? If they were female breasts and had therefore become objectionable to the degree that surgery generally reserved for cancer treatment was required, was morally obligatory, then wasn't Elliot still Ellen and he still she? How could I possibly have written that sentence in any sensible manner whatsoever, while simultaneously making my point understandably and not breaking Twitter rules against so-called hateful conduct?
But that's kind of the problem. Is I don't think he made his argument understandably as it is.
Even with
'Cause I
the
don't-
video?
Well, in the video or in the tweet. 'Cause
I
I don't
agree.
really
It's
understand
still-
what his point is. I
It's
don't
still,
understand what his point
we're drifting into the what is a woman argument, which
Yes.
I mean, you have that argument.
Right.
I would be on Jordan Peterson's side in the what is a woman argument. I'm not on and I'm
I
on
assume,
Jordan
yeah.
Peterson's side with the language argument. But those two
Right.
arguments are completely unrelated as far as I can tell.
Well, not completely unrelated, but there is overlap, but they're not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same argument.
Yeah.
And neither what his argument was in the tweet is not clear to me really at all.
Well,
what
what-
exactly he's trying to say?
What is a woman is a completely different debate than whether or not we should be exacting these harsh punishments on people who inadvertently misgender people or even misgender people deliberately.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that is true.
I mean, that
That's true.
has nothing to do with one another.
Right.
Yeah. So,
And Elliot Page just had his breasts removed? Was he Elliot then? When?
seeing this just maybe it's the performance that's triggering the shit out of me because this seems fake. Fake.
I don't know. I think he's really angry. I don't think the anger is fake.
This is like take 37. Are you kidding me?
You don't know. This could have all been one take. Okay.
Oh, Jordan. That was a beautiful take, but you had a little hair on your lapel there.
Okay.
Well, we got the hair off the gray hair off the lapel.
I think his anger feels.
Let's do
legitimate
one
to me.
more.
Okay.
One more take, Jordan.
Okay.
Exactly. He was definitely Ellen at some point in the past, or so indicate all his, her, them, their film credits. Will all those have to be reshot since they employed the hated dead name? That doesn't exist, by the way, that dead name category, except in the sensorial and addled minds of a tiny fraction of insanely narcissistic and increasingly dangerous trans activists.
See, I agree there. Like, make that argument about the language,
Right.
but you completely undermine that argument when you make the first sentence. When you know half the population and a lot of normies are going to look at that as he's saying being gay is a sin.
Well, I don't think he tweeted that with that knowing or thought in his mind.
So he didn't understand that that's the perspective a lot of people were going to see it from.
I would assume as much. Yes.
Okay, so that's fine. But somebody who works at CAA, Creative Artists Agency, who he's signed with now, who helped produce this video, could have. Well, no, you're right. They're all liberals. They don't know jack shit.
Well,
no,
no, 'cause
they
I'm
would have been the
assuming-
ones to tell him. Yeah,
I'm assuming this video was shot by like Daily Wire people or
Right.
something.
so nobody could tell him that people. Well, I'm sure people did tell him. Maybe
Maybe I have no clue.
Maybe
I have
doesn't
no
agree.
clue.
Do you agree that the message is undermined by people taking that first sentence as Jordan Peterson hates gay people? That
Oh, of course.
being gay
of
is
course.
a sin.
Of course, it completely
Right.
undermines.
So it's
Jordan
hard.
Peterson's tweet.
It's
Yeah.
hard to come in and make an argument about how we shouldn't be, exacting these harsh punishments on people
my
for
God.
dead naming. You okay?
I had one of those phone alerts.
I heard it go off. It scared me a little bit.
Yeah, I thought I turned those off. Jesus.
But
Anyway.
do you think Jordan Peterson is in a position where he can come out and say, "Listen, I don't hate gay people. I didn't mean it to say that"? I don't think he can.
Yeah, I think he is in a position that he could say that. Sure.
Okay.
Or
Why
do
is
you
he
think
not?
he's not in a position?
Why
say
is he
that?
not saying that then?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, I don't either.
When precisely was it incumbent on me to switch my terminology in regard to Elliot/Ellen so that I was not engaging in hateful conduct? And how can I describe the fact that someone who was once a woman, and really still is, had her breasts cut off because she, he, they, their, them had fallen prey to a viciously harmful fad without using the appropriate sex-linked pronoun and the real name of the real person to whom this was really done?
See, that completely destroys his credibility as a psychologist, as far as I'm concerned.
No, it does, because he's making
he's diagnosing her.
He's diagnosing Elliot Page.
Yeah, he's diagnosing him. See,
based on nothing. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Peterson hasn't looked at an in-depth study of Elliot Page's, psychology or medical record or anything.
I think
whatsoever.
This is even illegal. I mean, you're not supposed to diagnose without having access to them.
It's not. I don't think it's illegal. I think it's not. I know in America, they talk about this with doctors. It's going to punch with Trump and stuff too. It's like goes against your oath of being a doctor.
There's that other psychologist that in every single video he says, "I'm not providing a diagnosis here. I'm just expounding on what might be happening in this situation," right? Which sounds like something you'd say if you want to hang on to your license.
Well, you might get in trouble for it because of your license, but it's not illegal. But I understand what you're saying. And no, and I agree. This is where, when I was listening to this video, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how is he making this determination? Where he's just saying that Elliot Page fell prey to a social contagion and a trans fad? Like, how could Jordan Peterson make that claim? He doesn't have any evidence of that.
Even in previous videos where he's talked about, in the What is a Woman movie, he says clearly that you would have to, you are trying that the affirmative care model is a bad model because you don't necessarily know if they have gender dysphoria. Like you don't necessarily know what you're dealing with here. So, but now he's just coming out and he's saying he's going with the complete, what do you even call it? The anti-affirm, the disconfirmation model where you just scream at the person and say being trans is a fad. Like this looks horrible. This looks terrible. No,
I agree. It looks really bad.
Look,
and it as you said, it
goes looks
against,
like John Doyle. This is fucking John Doyle level shit here.
It goes against what he stated
in
recently.
The past. Yes,
in the past, which is why I was confused. When I listened to this video, I was very confused by it. I'm like, what does he just take? He have a radical change all of a sudden in his beliefs? Look, and it definitely fits into the perfect stereotype that the leftists want to hit him with, and then the transphobe stick.
Man,
on top of that,
this is really strange. This is just weird. I know there are a lot of people that listen to us that are like, ride or die with Jordan Peterson, right? And I mean, I've learned a lot from Jordan Peterson. I have a lot of respect for Jordan Peterson, but this is just, I mean, what do you do? Well, I
don't think you should give up on Jordan Peterson
right
just yet. I don't think you should throw him away. Maybe we should try to talk to him and say, like, what did you mean by this? Because this seems to contradict things you said in the past. Do you think that no one should ever transition for any purpose?
Peterson is an industry now, okay?
Right.
We can't.
He might not talk to us. I'm just saying we could attempt
Jordan Peterson.
We could attempt it, okay? I know Jordan Peterson knew who I was at some point. I know he watched my videos defending him.
It's true. He did, yeah.
I'm
curious if Brett Weinstein is going to make a response to this. I'm curious what Brett Weinstein's thinking about this.
Right. So, because I was listening to it, I didn't finish it, and I don't remember them talking about any trans stuff that I heard of. But I was listening to part of his conversation with Dave Rubin, which was after this, and he wasn't different. He was making the same nuanced points that he always makes. So, I mean, this could be a one-off thing. This could be in artfully spoken thing. This could be a badly edited video. I don't know. This could be his Birmingham jail angry video. I don't. I'm just saying. I don't think you should just throw him
Well,
under the
obviously,
bus.
I'm not gonna.
So quickly.
Obviously, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna throw Jordan Peterson out. I'm not gonna like go on
Right.
Twitter and start meme posting.
I denounce
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson
Yeah.
for his latest video. Yes.
But I just this strains credulity.
It does.
It really
It
does.
Right. I agree.
with his, her, their voluntary but unfortunate acquiescence. And so it was impossible to communicate what had happened to my audience without apparently running afoul of the impossible and absurd rules that now hypothetically govern morality itself in the days of the degenerated postmodern and Marxist ethos that we must still, no matter how impossible it is, abide by or else. And you might object, Alan/Elliot is an adult, 30-something, and fully capable of making up his, her, their own mind about such things, and she, he, they are welcome from the liberal and the libertarian position to go to hell in a handbasket as she, he, they see fit.
See, this is just, I mean, if Elliot has gender dysphoria and is seeking legitimate medical care for a real illness that Jordan Peterson has seemed to show respect for in the past, I don't see how you make this video.
No, I know. That's what's weird about it. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know why he throws liberals and libertarians under the bus too.
Yeah, as if, I mean, if they're making the argument, this is where the argument that you and I have is very important, because if you are conceptualizing, gender dysphoria as a sickness that is treated by transitioning, then you're in a much different place than if you're treating transitioning as just something anybody can do regardless of whether or not
As
you
an
have gender
aesthetic
dysphoria.
choice.
Yeah, as an aesthetic choice.
Right,
So-
but that's why my position, which even if I'm a good liberal, I don't even agree with the more libertarian position where people say
I know
adults
yes.
should be able to do whatever they want. I'm
You
like,
and I
I
have
don't agree
disagreed
with
on
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I don't agree with that. It's a medical procedure. I don't think anyone should
Right.
just fucking do that.
Right. Well, Jordan Peterson seems to be saying anyone who's adult can transition, whether they have gender dysphoria or not. But he wants you to know he is saying go to hell in a handbasket,
You're right.
which I don't even. That's not good. Like even if you take the libertarian perspective that you're an adult, if you want to do it, do it. Why would you tell somebody to go to hell?
Well, he's saying no. He's saying that he's not saying that. He's saying that society would go to hell in a handbasket. Isn't that what he's saying?
I think he's telling them to go to hell.
Right,
Here,
let me
I'll back
go
it
back.
up a little.
I'd object. Alan/Elliot is an adult, 30-something, and fully capable of making up his, her, their own mind about such things, and she, he, they are welcome from the liberal and the libertarian position to go to hell in a handbasket as she, he, they see fit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, basically saying that if they want to destroy their own lives, it's up to them.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice psychologist.
And fair enough,
Yeah.
to some degree.
Well, he says fair enough to some degree. So
Well, okay, so he's making a concession.
I
Look,
guess
you're winning me back here. You're winning me
Okay.
back a little.
Well, I'm assuming he's gonna throw a butt in. So
Oh no.
But I don't believe
Oh!
it is either merely picayune or inappropriate to point out that Ellen/Elliot, who is quite a good actor/actress, is also a ritual model for emulation, being a star with all the privileges and, let us point out, the responsibilities that go along with that. So by acquiescing to this surgery and by publicizing it, and by insisting upon the sanctity and the moral virtue of his, her, their new, expensive, dangerous, and medically enhanced identity, and by participating in the whole identity charade, Alan/
I'm so demoralized.
well, I mean, I agree. Part of that.
Well,
yes.
is identity a charade? I don't know if that's like a fucking psychologist saying identity is a charade.
You're hitting
Just
some
flush
yes,
your
he's-
fucking credibility down the toilet, dude.
Right. He's hitting some Judas Butler.
Yeah, what the fuck? Now
Talking
he
points.
just
This
went
is weird.
postmodernist.
Right.
Look, people need identities. People create identities.
Right.
Your identity is famous Canadian psychologist.
Wait, let me go back. What do you say about Sherrod?
Virtue of his, her, their new, expensive, dangerous, and medically enhanced identity, and by participating in the whole identity charade, Alan/Elliot has undoubtedly, with his, her, their so-called courage, and remember the White House itself.
I don't think he's saying identity is a charade. I think he means like
Her identity is
whole-
a charade.
I don't even think he means that.
His identity is a charade. God,
I don't even think he means that. I think he means just like the whole identity, everything's identity movement is a charade.
Oh, he's saying that judging people based on their identity is bad.
Or
I
just
agree
the
with
whole
that,
everyone
yeah.
has a million non-binary identities. Everyone has their own unique identity.
It would
I think
be
he's
great if it would be great if he was being clear here. Let's
I
just
know,
put
I
it
know,
that
I
way.
know.
Yeah.
I agree.
This is
Well-
not a clearly articulated video in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Well, and I think there's a way to say the point he's saying better, which would be if you have a famous person, a famous actor or actress who transitions, then yes, obviously there is a social contagion element to that person transitioning that might convince some people who are not actually trans, who don't actually have gender dysphoria, to transition. But I don't think. No, I haven't been following Elliot Page closely, so maybe
I don't know
Jordan Peterson
anything about
knows something that I don't know. But like
Oh, please.
this level of anger to me would be more in line with if Elliot Page was out here telling everyone the transition, saying, "Hey kids, you want to solve your problems and your insecurities? Transition." Like if Elliot Page was making these claims about transitioning, that then I would say, okay, I understand where he's coming from, but I'm not familiar with Elliot Page making any of these claims.
Elliot Page defended. See, I can't even say this correctly because I don't know if it was Elliot Page. I think it was pre-Elliot Page defended Jesse Smollett. Remember that?
I didn't. Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. No one should take anything Elliot Page
There's a
ever
big
says
video.
seriously. Yeah.
on late night TV where they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe America, we're in this place. Jesse Smollett was attacked by MAGA people."
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the situation, so it's just maybe Jordan is right, and that would be great.
So here's what Elliot Page says in the article. They were on Seth Meyers' show.
Right.
They said, quote, this is obviously a big component, talking about being trans. Obviously a big component and part of my life and a beautiful thing to experience now. A lot of the time my life was just trying to move forward. And so getting to embrace the experience as much as I get to now, it makes me better in so many facets, ... What I want to focus on right now and has been so extraordinary is the joy, the degree of joy that I feel. I feel a way that I never thought possible for a long time, ... But of course, moments can be overwhelming, ... It's so unfortunate because it's like we're all in the same team here. Whether you're trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, cis, we all have these expectations and these limits and constraints because of people's obsession with the binary, ... It'd be so special for us to all be able to connect and talk about how similar we all are in our journeys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I like the last part. That seems nice.
Well,
Common
I mean,
humanity.
I don't know. I mean, I would like to focus on the similarities, but I think there is some delusion going on about
Yes.
over biological sex differences.
Of course,
that
I completely agree. Yes.
just
Right.
need to be worked out societally. Yeah.
Yes. Hit it up.
I knocked my earpiece out.
Has tweeted out every indication of believing in the courage of those who transition. enticed many a poor, confused adolescent, girl most likely, to blame her emergent pubescent self-consciousness, confusion, and discomfort on being born in the wrong body and believing that the courageous, self-affirming, and morally admirable route is hormonal treatment, sterilization, subjugation to a lifetime of expensive medical complication. How delightfully profitable is that? And misery.
Look at that. He goes a little anti-capitalist there. I like that part. The I don't. This is so strange because this is where I agree with Jordan Peterson. Like, we have to be weeding out false positives, and
Right.
she's a celebrity or he's a celebrity. So especially a celebrity that is female to male is going to persuade a lot more females to be
Right.
female to male. But
Right.
in order to make that argument, you have to be a respected psychologist, well affiliated with the psychological literature on social contagion, and you have to have not tweeted out the most homophobic fucking tweet in the world. I swear to God. Doesn't that just completely...
it's not the most homophobic tweet.
Obviously, I'm being hyperbolic here, but you understand that completely destroys your credibility when we need people who are credible in this fight.
No, yeah, I agree. And I think you can make the argument, and you could be right, depending on what Elliot has said, that Elliot Page is being irresponsible with his position and platform in terms of whatever he said about transitioning. You can make all that argument, you can make those claims without then also claiming that Elliot Page, got swept up in the fad themselves.
Yes.
And that they are also, wrongly diagnosed or wrongly transitioning.
The way to make this argument is to, first of all, if you don't have access to Elliot Page, is just to assume good faith that Elliot Page has gender dysphoria and is doing something medically necessary for him. This is so difficult. And then saying, but the fact that you're a giant fucking Hollywood celebrity, there are these unintended consequences that are likely to happen if you share this experience with the world, in the same way that if if you went out and committed suicide and that was widely publicized, a bunch of people would probably do the same thing.
Well,
and we have evidence of that.
I think there's some level of responsibility that celebrities have, and then there's some level of responsibility individual people have that I don't have sympathy for them. And so if Elliot Page or any celebrity comes out and they transition and all they say is I was having a lot of problems in my life, I had all these depression and dysphoria, and I go to a psychologist, and we find out that I have gender dysphoria, and I transition, and now I feel so much better. Okay, that's all they said, or something along those lines. And then there's going to be some amount of people that see that, and they're going to wrongly transition. But that's on them at that point. Okay, so that's on them at that point.
So if you were going to make that argument, you have to make that argument with shows like the show on Netflix that glorified suicide, and suicide rates spiked, and the producers ended up pulling it. If it's
I don't know the exact. I never watched the show, so I don't know what the exact show said about suicide.
Right. If you're saying that social contagion is a thing, and the people who fall into the social contagion, that's on them. Sure, you could make that argument. I don't think.
No, but what I'm saying is every celebrity is not responsible for every stupid fucking thing. There's a line.
Why do you care?
Okay.
Then why are we even talking about the 4,000% increase in female?
Because we're talking about two different. No, I'm talking about
adolescent.
I'm talking about what is the responsibility that a celebrity or influencer has on the words they use. And if a celebrity simply says I had a problem and I did this thing and now I feel better. Okay. That's not telling everyone to go out and do that thing.
No,
if
I
people
agree.
want to go out and do that thing wrongly, I can't fault the celebrity for it. Now, if the celebrity comes out and says, oh, it's, all these people have gender dysphoria and they don't realize it. It's, being cis is bad, or this, takes all this courage to, the transition. Like if they're like really pushing it up like constantly, then I think you'd have a stronger argument. But if they just come out and say like, oh, I transitioned and I feel better now, then I don't fault them for saying that. That's something that they experienced. That's something that happened to them.
I understand what you're saying, and there is a difference in the social contagion of suicide, because obviously suicide is something people do alone and often don't tell people. I mean, in this
you can't talk it up after the fact because you're dead. So.
That's the case, and that's why obviously the media reporting on it, takes some responsibility for it. And the thing is, though, in our current situation with the media glorifying celebrity transition and people, this creating false positives, which I'm certain that it is, in a like functioning societal situation, we wouldn't have an affirmative only care model, and those false positives would be weeded out, and the celebrity wouldn't be more at fault because, those false positives would be weeded out before they ever engaged in any sort of transitioning. Right. But in the current environment, I mean, it's just like these false positives are being put down the...
Right, but that's not necessarily the individual actor or actress's fault. That's the media and social media's fault, and the people who are constantly celebrating every time someone comes out is fault. So like, for example, if Elliot Page on Twitter every day said, had a picture of someone who came out as trans, and they said, every day they said, let's celebrate someone who comes out as trans, right?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and they make a big deal about that. Then I'd say, okay, that seems like they're really pushing this.
If they don't know the ramifications of their actions, then obviously I don't know how you could hold them accountable, because I'm certain that like Elliot Page does not think, oh, tens of thousands of girls are now transitioning because they thought it looked cool when I did.
Wait, I could totally hold them responsible if they don't know. You can hold people responsible all the time for accidentally doing bad things. Now, you don't hold it to the same responsibility as intentionally doing bad things.
You seem to keep changing your position. What is your position?
I'm not. No,
are we holding? Look, you know the context here. Elliot Page does it. Tens of thousands of people think that they have gender dysphoria when they don't. They start transitioning, and you're 10 minutes ago you said I can't hold the celebrity responsible for it, but now you're saying you can hold the celebrity responsible for it, even if they don't know that that's happening.
No.
What is your position?
No. We're talking about two different things.
What the fuck is your position?
I'm trying to tell you, but you keep talking. Are you ready?
Jeez, you're driving me insane.
We need a trigger thing for Adam.
I do. Where's my fucking laser eyes? Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Criminy.
No. I said the example that you brought forward was just, you said celebrity transitions, just the act of them transitioning gets other people to transition, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know that?
I do not hold, and I assume you do not hold, the celebrity responsible for people wrongly transitioning under that, because they just transitioned.
I do. If they know, how can you not hold them responsible?
Because
listen,
what are they supposed
if you
to
go,
wait,
if you have irrefutable evidence, okay, and you walk into Elliot Page and you say, "Listen, Elliot, I'm super glad that you've dealt with your gender dysphoria. I'm glad that you're feeling better. I'm glad that you've embarked on this life." But here we've done a bunch of peer-reviewed studies, and we show that if you want to go on late night TV and talk about how awesome it is, how great it is, how this has just made your life exceptionally better, 100,000 young girls are going to think that they have gender dysphoria. And we live in this atmosphere where their parents are going to immediately say, you're full of shit. I don't think you have gender dysphoria. I'm going to take you to a psychologist. And the psychologist is going to tell them, yes, your daughter does have gender dysphoria. And if you don't start calling them by he, him pronouns, we're going to turn you over to CPS.
Right.
And then Elliot Page
I
goes,
understand.
Elliot Page goes, that's going to happen? Really? Well, fuck it. I'm going to go out and talk about how great it is.
Right.
Then I would say, listen, Elliot Page, you're a piece of shit. And I would come on our show every single Sunday and I would talk about how Elliot Page is a fucking moron and piece of shit and that people should not like her anymore. People should not like him anymore.
I agree in the example that you just laid out right now.
What is confusing about this?
Hold on. Okay, because you've added a bunch of elements which were not in the first example. Okay. Yeah, under the example you just laid out about the person, Elliot Page going on a talk show and talking about how wonderful their life is. Okay. And then if you explain to them like, hey, Elliot, if you talk this way and you don't add like an addendum, you don't say, listen, this is what worked for me. I don't know if it will work for everyone. This is something that people should figure out on their own with their doctors. If Elliot Page is not careful with their language, okay, and you explain all this to Elliot and Elliot Page says, I don't give a fuck. Right. Then I think they are completely responsible for that.
Look,
too.
you have dumb.
The first example you gave was just Elliot Page transitions and then people transition. Okay? There was no going on talk shows and giving long speeches about how awesome it is.
You have dumb ass YouTubers who only talk about stock trading, and even they are smart enough to say, this is not investment advice, okay? I know that you're going to go out and lose all your fucking money because you're a moron, right?
Well, I understand, but wait, you didn't let me finish.
Okay, I thought you were done.
Under your example, and this is why I said to me, it sort of doesn't matter necessarily whether they're knowledgeable about it or not, because I don't think Elliot Page, I don't think like 99% of the people who are out here promoting, that kids transition.
Yeah, they're uneducated.
Right. They're not doing it because they're evil. Not doing it because
they're doing it because they're idiots.
They think that there's all these kids with gender dysphoria or all these trans kids that are too scared to transition because of evil conservatives, and that they're giving them the strength to transition, and they don't believe. Right, and they don't believe that, there's a social contagion. I still hold those people responsible. For me, they're being fucking stupid about that. It's not just a blanket, well, they didn't know, so that's okay. I still think that they're doing a moral harm to society, and that there is some level of responsibility.
But if it's done out of ignorance, it's like,
it's lesser if it's done out of ignorance, but it still exists.
Right, I agree. And I've said this before, I completely believe it. More pain and suffering is wrought on the world out of ignorance than malice. Like ignorance by a long shot.
Right.
Yes.
So we agree on that. What I'm saying about the level of responsibility and of an influencer has.
Right.
To me, regarding Elliot Page, isn't about whether they're knowledgeable about social contagion or not. It's about how and how much they're promoting whatever they're promoting.
Right.
So, like, if Elliot Page just transitions and then goes on talk show and says, I feel better now, okay, and then that's like all they ever fucking say about it, then I don't hold them responsible for kids transitioning because of that.
If he just came out and lived his life as a man and stopped talking about transitioning at all, people would not even know.
Well, people would know because they're a famous actress. So.
Right, but I mean, it wouldn't have to be the focus of their identity.
Well, part of the problem I agree, but part of the problem with this celebrity is that everyone's going to make it the same. Like, if a famous celebrity transitions, that's all anyone's going to ask them questions about. It's not like they can really not talk about it.
This is why this is so demoralizing to me, because in this fight, you need competent, scientifically minded psychologists.
Right, but that's what you said, which I think is a pertinent issue here, is that really the faulty element here is the doctors allowing this shit, allowing kids to basically dictate all
I
this nonsense.
Completely agree. Yes, and
because kids will always listen to celebrities and try to follow celebrities or famous people doing whatever stupid shit they're doing.
Matt,
And you need other adults and parents and teachers and doctors to say no.
the sane people to come out and say, listen,
Right.
this is fucked up. We got to get this under control. But
Yeah.
and Matt Walsh did a great job of highlighting this in his movie, What is a Woman? The insane therapists that people go to that just practice affirmative care. I mean, we're
Right.
definitely diving into a realm of a new culture, an untested morality system that I don't think is going to work out. I really don't. I think it's doomed, but I felt like Jordan Peterson was someone who would be useful in a very, tangible, pragmatic, scientific way. And this video is just a complete
It's not
180.
helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like throwing a Molotov cocktail instead of,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that's great for views. This video has 2.7 million views.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think those 2.7 million people are having the same reaction as I am.
No.
Yeah.
And I believe firmly that Ellen/Elliot, or whatever the hell her name or his name is, bears.
See, this is, I mean, this is not good.
No. No.
How do you not think that this is, I mean, these are personal attacks.
Yeah.
This does not look good.
Nope.
Moral culpability for that. And finally, with regard to the final phrase, criminal physician, I must say that I've had some post-coital, so to speak, regrets about that phrase.
I don't know why he says that like that.
That's so
That's
wrong.
so weird. That's so weird.
Post-coital means after sex.
Yes.
So he's saying he's had some after sex regrets, which,
Right.
I mean,
Well, I'm
he-
glad that he regrets using the term. I don't know why he would bring it to sex.
I mean, it sounds like maybe he's a little bit of a chaser or something. I don't know. What is it? Is
I don't
that
think
the
it's,
right-
I think it means like in the heat of the moment,
Mhm.
you say something and then you regret it afterwards.
Okay.
I think that's the implication.
This is not the kind of conversation that you want to add a splash of sexual innuendo into.
You're right,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes,
that was like, what are we doing here?
Phrase. It is clearly the case that the surgical operation performed by the butchers who butchered Elliot/Ellen was legal. So, was it criminal?
Oh, so, I mean, he's using
Okay,
the
so he-
term butcher now, Sitch.
Right.
Well,
So yeah, he totally fucked it up, like fucked himself there. Because when he first said that, when I was listening to this video the first time, I thought, oh, okay, I'm glad if he's gonna walk that back. But then now he's not walking it back. He's just saying, well, it's not technically criminal, but it's still horrible, and he calls them butchers, which
Yeah.
pretty
How do
not
you, like,
conducive.
how do you,
to,
Jordan Peterson has successfully navigated the transphobe accusation up until this point, I think.
Well, he successfully navigated it to us.
Well, and
Yes.
I would say sensible people that looked at his stuff, charitably.
Well,
and
okay.
Yeah.
He navigated to people that actually would take the time to listen to
There
what
you
he was
go.
saying
Yeah. Perfect.
and not just read a headline. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right. But now you have this clip and
I
yeah.
can't. Can you defend this clip? I mean,
No.
if somebody said to you, listen, Jordan Peterson is a transphobe and I'm going to send you proof, here's the clip.
Well, I wouldn't
I
call him
would-
a transphobe. I would say he doesn't seem to think anyone should transition based on this clip.
Well, isn't that the definition of transphobia? Like, you think transphobia is should be outlawed?
Maybe it's not generally how I consider transphobe, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, colloquially.
Well, I know there's a million definitions for
Right,
transphobe,
right.
but I mean, I'd be like, I don't know. This is pretty, yeah, it seems like he hates trans people. He's calling them butchers and like this.
Well, he's
is-
calling the doctors who perform surgery butchers.
Right, yeah.
Not the people themselves was
right.
immoral, but sure.
They're the butchered.
The butchie.
Yeah. Okay. Look at this. We're up to 40% agree with the tweets.
There you go. Well, he's about to get into the Nazi.
Our audience is weighing in.
He's about to get into the Nazi.
Look, aren't you glad we have an audience that takes pleasure in disagreeing with us, that doesn't want to abandon us simply because we have a take that doesn't agree with their sensibilities?
There you go. Yes, I do actually.
I don't know. The Sunday show might be pretty quiet on. Are we clipping this out? Is this? Do you?
This is going to be a clip, of course.
Are you sure? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if you don't want to be, then I don't.
No,
care.
I don't care. Fuck. I want to hear. I want to read the comments. I want to hear people's rebuttals. I mean, I feel like I'm making I feel like I'm making a stellar argument here.
Hearing people's rebuttals to this is pointless because
we have some
want
smart
clarity
comments
from Jordan Peterson about what he means. I don't want to hear someone's rebuttal about whether they agree with the statement that's not clear to me in the first place.
It doesn't matter. The dude wrote a book where one of the rules is be precise in your speech. Do we need to reread that chapter? Do you know why it's important to be precise in your speech? So you can avoid...
Doomer wants to come on. I don't know why, but do you want Doomer?
We can send Doomer the link. Yeah, Doomer's always welcome. Fuck yeah.
Okay.
So, jump in. Short Fatted Taco's in the chat. Bring him in. You want to come on? Dev, you want to come on too? I'll send you the link.
Well, Dev's a well-known chaser, so...
What does that have to do with anything?
We know what side his bread is buttered.
Really?
I'm joking.
Does chaser means does poly mean that you like trans people?
No, poly, no.
I thought poly did mean that you like trans people.
Well, no, poly means that you're banging more than one person. I don't know what you mean.
You kids and your link. I thought poly meant that you would have sex with anyone or anyone.
No, that's Demi or one of those ones. I don't know. Not Demi, that's close. I don't know. There's one that, it's not poly though. I know what you're talking about.
You got to send them both. Maybe I should send the link.
I sent both to
good.
Doomer, the Watch Together and the Zoom.
All right. Look, he's already here.
He's about to bring up the Nazi.
We'll give a
comparison where he double gets himself in trouble.
Let's get Doomer's take before we move on to that.
Okay.
Maybe Doomer's.
Do you like that he brings up the Nazis? Is that a good? It's never a good idea.
I'm not sure I even got to the end of this video.
Oh, he brings up Nazis. Yeah, you know.
Oh, great.
He makes it even worse.
Is this kind of his brand now? Is like, I haven't been canceled for a couple weeks. I need to get canceled this week. I guess, I mean, once you're invincible, I mean, I get it.
Thank you. Pan means you bang everyone, not poly. Thank you, Chad.
Oh, it's pan. Thank you, guys. Pansexual. That means you'd have sex with the toaster, right?
Or the pan. That's why it's called pan.
Anyway.
What's going on, Doomer?
What's going on? Why was this not a Sunday video? This video is hilarious.
Because Sitch didn't pick it. I don't know why he didn't pick it. It's like fucking great.
It's great memes. He actually said postcoital clarity.
It's a 15-minute video that we're going to talk about for like 2 hours and then be done with.
Well, I mean, we did multiple videos, so this is fucking...
Okay, well, we could have done it on... Adam, you have a voice. You can say, Sitch, next Sunday, we should cover this video and some other things. Not say,
I did. I said that last Sunday. I'm like...
No, you said, do you want to cover this on Sunday? Which in my mind reads like, is the whole show going to be about this? So it was a miscommunication because I'm like, I don't want the whole show. But
Sitch, you never listened to A-Team suggestions, okay? We've been talking about renaming this show for how long now?
Yeah. Well,
that's not true. What do you mean? Adam's the one that wanted to do the January 6th hearing.
Yes.
That was entirely an Adam idea.
Everyone hates us for it. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
No, I was talking about being the Adam and Sitch show, but
yeah, I know that's what you're talking about, but I was ignoring you because you're wrong.
So Doomer, what is your take on this? Do you agree with? First of all, I don't care if you agree with Sitch's take. Do you agree with Adam's take? That's what I really want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys covering this, so I went back to rewatch like the first 7 minutes that I missed, and it's crazy. He's like burning down like half a decade of goodwill. I don't understand what
Yes.
he's doing.
Mhm.
This video's really, really bad.
Okay, so you agree with
Like,
me? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was always in the position of not really caring about Peterson that much, but he's one of these people I'm forced to defend because people will say completely insane things about him.
Yes.
And then you just ask for some, like, transphobe was one of them. You just ask for evidence. It's like, okay, you say he's a transphobe. Can you give me any evidence of him being a transphobe?
Right.
And they never could. Well, now they can.
Now they can, yes.
Because if someone calls him a transphobe and they point to this video, I'm like, okay, well, okay, there is that one video. And then you've lost the fucking conversation. It's
totally.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
True.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm demoralized here. I really am.
Yeah, it's I don't know what's
And
going
then
on here.
and then all of our audience is going to be like, "You're the Jordan Peterson Internet Defense Force. You got to stay loyal to your man." What do we do here? What do we do?
What is insane about what any of us are saying, Shallot?
Who
I
is
wanted some specifics.
is someone
here.
disagreeing with us in the chat? You
Yeah,
gave me a
someone's
hard time.
Chat has been I've been having fun with the chat for a while now. Chat is not like what you guys have been saying.
I
Some
sent
people- of
I
course some
just
people
I
do.
wanted on the record that I sent Dev the link, so if he doesn't if he's too scared to come in, he doesn't have to. Okay. If he's too,
Yeah, he's
if
always scared. Devin's
he's
been
too
asking
afraid.
me to come on. Devin's been asking me to come on his show for like 8 months. He'll always be like, "Hey, you got to come on." And I'm like, "Okay, tell me when." It's just like fucking never happens.
Yeah.
That fucking guy.
Yeah, you should say,
Calling
"Fuck
you
that,
out
come
there.
on our show."
I
Yeah,
can't go on
understand.
any other show until I finish the comic, but I'm on. I'll come on as soon as I'm done with the comic. I'm on. Just sign me up. So
There you go.
let's continue then with the video now that we know.
Well, are people? It seems like are people just upset about you calling him a transphobe?
Look at the
Is there
numbers.
some other disagreement there?
Look at
There's
the
lots of
numbers.
people have different reasons for disagreeing with you guys. Some
Yeah.
some of them are just pretty right leaning.
42%. We're almost. I think we're going to get to 50% before this poll is over. Sitch, do you agree with Jordan Peterson's tweet? Yes.
Well, I feel like now people are agreeing just to spite you. So
Despite me,
yeah,
More
just to see
power
you get
to 'em.
triggered.
Well, so
That's
when
a
the-
bad thing.
when they're saying they agree with the tweet, are they saying that he should be able to say that and not get kicked off Twitter, or do
That's
they mean
the-
that they think the same thing?
I don't know.
this
That's
is
part
the
of
beautiful of our
problem with
the
poll,
beauty
yeah.
of our poll is that nobody fucking knows. I tried to stop for a second and think the poll through better, but
Yeah.
this is what we get. Let's move on.
Okay.
Criminal or not? Operation performed by
I
the
backed it up a
butchers who
second.
butchered Elliot/Ellen was legal.
Oof.
So, was it criminal?
Yeah, like that's really bad.
Yeah.
that's really bad. You
Yeah.
don't want to say that, dude. Like, oh man. The thing is, he has the media training to know how this looks, which is what makes it a lot worse to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I have
Unless-
the media training to know how this looks, and I'm a fucking idiot.
Unless, like, Matt Walsh's media person is the first person he's talking to once he gets signed up with Daily Wire. And this is like the script they wrote for him. Like, oh, this is going to be a great video to launch your career at Daily Wire.
That's what it feels like, honestly. It's pretty creepy.
It is. That's why I said in the very beginning, I feel like when I'm watching this, like, we've achieved Jordan Peterson's, final form here. And, it turned out to be like an episode of The Twilight Zone where you're like, oh yeah, this is my best friend. And now I realize his body's been taken over by an evil alien presence.
There you go.
Excuse me.
Jordan Peterson's like, I've achieved my final form, Adam, and now I have 5 minutes before I blow up the trans planet.
Yeah. I'm like, holy cow. When they're talking about this is, when
Lord Peterson.
When
Okay,
people
let's-
talk about the trans genocide that the conservatives want, I feel like it's going to have clips from this video. I really do.
So how long until he interviews Stefan Molyneux?
He already
Let's make a bet.
has.
I thought he did like years
Oh,
ago.
yes.
He already has.
I thought he did a long time ago, didn't he?
People point to that one all the time as the
Right.
Jordan Peterson is a race realist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like Jordan Peterson now not being the Red Skull, but being Lord Frieza in his final form,
Right.
blowing up the
Yeah.
transes in 5 minutes. So
It is kind of giving me Dave Rubin vibes, which is sad.
Oh,
It's unfortunate.
I can't wait to watch this Dave Rubin interview. Supposedly it's good. Hopefully, I don't know. You can't walk this back.
Or not? Were the operations undertaken by the fascist physicians who carried out the Nazi medical experiments legal?
Okay, I do remember this, Sitch. This is not. This is.
Wait. So just to be clear, because I don't remember the context of where exactly we are in this video, is he just comparing like gender reassignment surgery and like to like Nazis?
Yes. Yeah.
Essentially. Well, he's saying, well, technically, gender reassignment surgery is not criminal because it's not against the law, but neither was the surgeries the Nazis did.
Oh no. That's another angle of like pretty bad because one of his biggest things for people who don't know, like his areas of like research, the top two are alcoholism and personality psychology, but number 3 is probably studying like the Nazis.
Yeah.
So again, he
Right.
should know better than to make these comparisons. Like,
Yeah.
that's not good.
Do you think
It's
someone?
not good, Jordan.
You think someone else wrote this script? Maybe that's what happened here. Maybe
Well,
someone.
he signed off on it, even if someone else wrote it for him.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to imagine. I mean, I can't really imagine. I mean, how much money does he make a year, right?
This is a
whole
giant. For me, this is just a giant rebranding of Jordan Peterson. Like, this is not the Jordan Peterson I'm familiar with. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can defend him anymore.
yeah.
Honestly.
So you're in the same boat
Well-
as me. Everyone was saying, I'm disloyal to Jordan Peterson because I won't defend him after this.
Listen, I'm not ready to burn the boat down. I'm just like, okay, is this a derivation or is this the new trajectory? If like this is the new trajectory going forward, then okay, then I'll agree with you.
Well, it's not that I've completely changed my mind about him. It's just that like it used to be really easy to defend him against certain accusations, and it's just not anymore. After watching this one video.
Well,
It
that's
would be much more difficult.
true,
We're
but I
in
don't
a-
want to not defend someone just because it's not easy. Right?
Yeah.
Like if I still
Like,
like,
you do argue for a living. I don't.
well, that's true. That's true.
How do you defend this though, Sitch? I'm dying.
No,
I'm
you don't,
dying
but
to
what-
see
what-
the video where how you defend this.
I don't defend this video. But what
Okay.
I'm saying is, before I'm going to throw Jordan Peterson under the bus, I want to see if this video is it the new direction. I want some time.
But
to see,
yeah,
is this the new direction?
I understand that argument, but Doomer's
Right.
logic is impeccable here when he says, you're arguing with someone, they immediately throw out Jordan Peterson as a transphobe, and you
Right.
ask for evidence, and they never can send evidence. Now they will send this video. Your next move is,
Yeah, there is no.
oh
next move.
yeah, well
Right.
that video,
Right.
is transphobic.
Right.
I can't defend that video. Yeah, you're
Also, the thing is-
done.
This was an easy win because Peterson was one of these people. I mean, I defended him in the Vosh video. He's one of these people that was just like a lightning rod for all this absurd stuff, right? Like
Right.
Vosh accused him of JQ, and people would call him transphobic and fascist and all sorts of crazy
Yeah.
shit. And to be fair, he's had his fair share of spicy comments, but they were nowhere close to that. Like before now, it was a really, really simple optical win if you got into an argument about it in public to just be like, hey, if you're going to call someone that, do you have a single piece of evidence? And then they would basically just melt down because they don't. They're just repeating something they heard from other people. But yeah, now it's like, yeah. know.
Jeff shot. Oh, sorry, Doomer. I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I'm done.
Jeff Shots in the chat says, this is not evidence of transphobia in all caps. Now, I would like to see your argument on how you make that, how you say that.
You have to
but
lay out how's everyone defining transphobia. Would be the question.
I
I
mean, it's not a
just,
Sitch's Law thing. This is pretty.
No, it is a
across the-
Sitch's Law thing. How are people defining transphobia?
Is
Well,
there
if
a
we
way to
get-
define is there a way to define transphobia reasonably where this video is not being transphobic
Yeah.
at
Do
all?
you hate individual trans people for being trans?
well, he definitely seems to hate Elliot Page. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but
it's hard
it's
to
on the
say.
basis. But it's more his hatred is more at the doctors were performing a surgery. It seems like he thinks is not medically necessary.
He told her to go to hell in a handbasket.
No, he said if you're a liberal or a libertarian and you think adults should be able to go to hell in a handbasket, then fair enough.
I'm gonna get in such trouble. CT, I want you to know that you have to bleep out all of these misgenderings. Okay.
Don't bleep out any.
These are all.
misgenderings, okay?
These are
we
all.
we need a super cut of just Adam fucking up.
These are all
Adam saying
accidental.
she
Listen,
and Elliot again.
I
and
am
again and
literally
again.
here defending Elliot Page, someone
know.
I
Or
fucking
Alan.
hate,
Yeah.
over the Jesse Smollett shit.
To be
Because
fair
Jordan
to
Peterson
Adam-
is going full.
He's being stupid in this.
Yes.
Video, but-
Listen, you make the argument. It's how you're defining transphobia, okay? Even if it's a fuzzy border. Jordan Peterson's standing right fucking next to it. He's got one foot on the other
I
side.
agree. Someone
Why
says
would you get that close to the edge?
phobia means fear, not hate? Well, I mean, come on, guys. We know colloquially that when someone calls someone a homophobe, that they're saying you hate gay people. We understand what the word means. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally how when you say someone's a homophobe, that's the implication.
First
Saying,
of all,
this person hates gay people.
I don't want to get into arguments over, well, what exactly is a phobia?
I know, but that's why I knew as soon as you started saying, "Oh, Jordan Peterson is going to come out as transphobe or look like a transphobe," I could sense that was going to trigger people, because then everyone's going to get into this debate about what being a transphobe actually means.
And that's going to be a very productive conversation.
It's
obviously.
not
gonna
gonna
It's a
be.
very horrible, stupid conversation.
But obviously, you're being sarcastic, which that was
Yes.
funny. Thank you for bringing some comedy to our comedy show.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just to
under the laws of the time. But were they criminal? I'll leave that question up to you to answer. And further,
Yeah, I know you're the one. We're here for your opinions.
Well, he's doing I'm just asking questions. Well, not even just asking questions. He's doing the wink, wink,
It's so bad.
perhaps it might be objected, what about the damage done by hypothetically leaving those confused about their identity to dwell in their confusion? Aren't we morally obliged to intervene? And I would say, no. Why? Well, first, do no harm, as the Hippocratic Oath, remember that, insists. And
So I want to respond to Deadbolt 1911 in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
They say, I can't believe Vosh is putting optics over truth. Adam, most streams. Why doesn't JP worry about optics? Oh my God, Adam, this stream. That is a complete mischaracterization of what I'm saying. Well, I guess it is partially right to some extent. But I very explicitly said, I laid out the truth of this situation. What is going on in my perspective, in my read of the situation. And Jordan Peterson, I believe, is throwing truth under the bus here. And that is one of the things that I'm complaining about, because I'm saying, listen, there are certain people, they have gender dysphoria. Jordan Peterson seems to accept this. It's unclear that he has that opinion any longer. He's, diagnosing someone from afar, which is, most people think is not helpful and illegal in some places. Like there's
he
so
could lose
much
his
truth.
license.
Yeah, there's so much truth that Jordan Peterson is completely throwing under the bus. And you could make the argument that he's doing it for optical reasons, to cater to a Daily Wire hyper-conservative audience that wants to hear this kind of red meat, there's no such thing as trans people, it's all an illusion. So, I mean, you could make the argument that all of this is being done for optical reasons and that Jordan Peterson doesn't give a fuck about the truth.
Well, the truth would be, according to the literature, it seems like he's denying, especially right here, he's denying that anyone should ever transition.
Yes.
And then he also is kind of seeming like he's not thinking that gender dysphoria is biological. He's just kind of regulating it down to like confusion about your identity, which to me very dismissive of people that actually suffer from gender dysphoria.
There
I don't
is
think
that
it's just they're
situation.
confused about their identity.
There is that situation, and this is the problem. We need a mental health system that separates the people who are confused about their identity from the people who actually suffer from gender dysphoria. We're in agreement on that, right, Sitch?
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah.
course. Regarding the transphobic comment, Ostracy for $5 says, the idea that if you think trans surgery is bad, that you must be a transphobe is one of the stupidest arguments that you have made.
That's
Do you think
us?
that if you say, well, first of all, is that your opinion? Because that's not my opinion.
Listen,
But-
I've argued 12-year-olds should vote, so let's think
Right.
about stupid arguments.
That's
first.
true. That's true. I don't know if that's your opinion, but first of all, that's not my opinion. But I have a hard time arguing against someone that is their opinion, that's wrong. Like, I understand the argument why people come to that conclusion or why they would define it that way, even though that's not my opinion. But is that your opinion, Adam?
I didn't follow the thing perfectly, so
Okay.
maybe I misunderstood.
If someone says that they think all trans surgery is bad, and all, not even just surgery, but like taking hormones, they think nobody should transition ever. Do you think that it's fair to call that person a transphobe?
I understand why people will call them a transphobe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it sure? Okay, yeah, it's fair to call them a transphobe.
Okay.
Like if you're
Like-
if you're in the camp that you think it's fair to be able to misgender people and you shouldn't be kicked off of platforms for it, then you should be able to call people transphobe too. Like, come on now, freedom of speech.
I mean, like what definition of transphobe would not
maybe
categorize that?
you're asking me, if they are a transphobe. Like, I mean, we've already established people have different definitions of transphobe that they will use indiscriminately. So
I don't know, like intuitively, I want to push back and say that if someone says, my intuition, which could be wrong, is telling me that if just because someone says all transitioning is bad doesn't make them a transphobe.
how
But-
can you say that though? Since they're saying
wait.
society would fall apart if people transition.
Well, no.
So.
You're adding extra elements to it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, in a vacuum, if the claim is just, I don't think anyone should transition.
But
period.
why would they make
nothing
that
else
claim?
added to it? Okay, nothing else added to it. Does
Okay.
that make someone a transphobe? My intuition says no, not necessarily, but I feel like I could be wrong because I'm thinking logically. If someone said, I don't think anyone should be gay, I would consider that person a homophobe automatically.
Right.
So why am I making a distinction between transphobe and homophobe in my mind? And I'm not sure I have an answer to that. But
I mean, like, isn't the definition of transphobe basically just like promoting hatred of trans people generally? Like,
yeah, but
is there
that's
gonna be a definition that's radically
okay.
different from that?
But maybe because you could say, well, I don't want to promote hatred. I just don't think anyone should do it. Right?
I mean, yeah, but you're carving out this like really, really narrow sort of pedantic corner of like, oh, well, I don't have a problem with trans people. I just don't think like, I just think they're delusional and, they shouldn't be allowed to seek treatment. Like, I mean, it's like it's like, okay, there's like technically you could make a syllogism, right? You could make a logical argument that would create a hypothetical person that would fit into this little logical corner niche. Just not realistic. I mean, the reasons that somebody would take the position like, trans people's identities aren't valid and they shouldn't be allowed to seek treatment. Like, okay, like that's pretty fucking transphobic. I don't know.
Well, okay, maybe
what would be more
here's the
transphobic than
difference.
that.
Maybe here's the difference. This is very ultra shallow narrow. Maybe this is entirely Sitch ad hoc reasoning here. Okay. So if you look up the definition of transphobic according to Google, it says having or showing a dislike of or prejudice against transsexual or transgender people. And you could say, well, I don't have a dislike or prejudice against trans people. I just don't think anyone should transition. And then you say what you just said, Doomer. And that's fair.
Under that definition, you're not a transphobe, though.
I don't dislike you. I just think that you're delusional, your identity is wrong, and that you shouldn't be allowed to seek medical treatment. It's going to make your life better. Like, go fuck yourself.
Well, but they wouldn't.
What are
They
you
wouldn't
supposed
phrase.
to say about that?
They wouldn't phrase
Like,
it that
it's
way.
such
They
a
would
bad
say
argument.
they wouldn't phrase it that way because they don't think transitioning helps you. They think it hurts you.
Okay, you could make there's a okay. there is a general sense in which you could make this argument where you could say, I think that is true in most cases. But if you say it in all cases, that's not like you're saying there hasn't been a single person with gender dysphoria that's been helped by gender affirming surgery ever.
That's a tough
in the history
claim.
of mankind.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
fucked up
I don't
claim.
agree with that, but people believe that.
Sure. And I think those people dislike trans people.
Okay.
I mean, I don't feel like that's a very extreme position, is it?
Let me think. I mean, I guess I feel like I don't know. I guess you're right. I can't really argue against that because you'd say, well, why don't you want people to be trans if you're not disliking some element of transness itself? Well, no, but then I guess they would say, I don't dislike trans. I think that people transitioning will cause them harm in the future or cause other people harm in the future.
Well, like I said, like leading up to that argument, there's reasonable arguments, like about, like, for example, having skepticism and like the process of like diagnosing people and acknowledging that like transitioning before you've gone through the process of like psychological evaluation could cause serious problems. So we should take it seriously. I mean, you could make arguments, plenty of arguments that I wouldn't agree with about, you know, different ways that medical treatment should be handled to try and prevent harm that I don't think are transphobic. But if you're outright saying like, well, there's just, you know, there's no circumstances in which this ever could conceivably help someone, that's to me, that's a really extreme position.
It is an extreme position. I don't disagree. But whatever, I guess we should table it because the whole arguing over what exactly defines transphobia
Literally
is,
Sitch's law.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but the problem is it triggers a bunch of people. But
just
I
because
feel
you
like
got
it's
that's
also
why
not
I'm
worth
here to trigger
talking
chat.
about.
you got to admit more because they don't want to be called transphobe than that they really.
Because it's a magic word.
Yeah, exactly.
Spell you cast. It's incantation.
It is. Yeah.
Except for the Mossad who just says, no, just be transphobe. It's good. So there you go. He's just doubling down. He's like, no, I like it.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Second, it has been a matter of historical consensus that sins of omission are less egregious than sins of commission.
Wait, let me go back.
Thus, well, first, do no harm, as the Hippocratic Oath, remember that, insists. And second, it has been a matter of historical consensus that sins of omission are less egregious than sins of commission. Thus, leaving someone with gender dysphoria, no matter how warranted, and perhaps it is in a very tiny minority of truly unfortunate cases, to suffer the consequences of the theoretical mismatch between soul and body is less of a risk ethically, personally, socially, and philosophically than the extremely active intervention that constitutes so-called gender confirming, another hated phrase, surgery. I might also point out.
So, okay, his argument, I've never heard him make this argument before, but his argument is essentially, even if there are some minority of people that should transition, as a society or as a medical community, we shouldn't have transition because the false positives are going to far outweigh the actual people that need the surgery.
He has not made that argument clearly. I have articulated
That's
that
his argument he just made just now.
Is it clear? I mean, I don't.
It's not super clear, but that's what he said.
It's not
completely
super clear.
It's
Right.
I have made that argument on the show for fucking years now. Okay.
Wait, no, you've never made that argument.
Listen,
He said, no, wait, listen.
I
He's saying,
literally go.
no.
Go
He's
ahead.
saying nobody should transition because even if there are people that would benefit from it, there's too many people that will be harmed by it.
Listen.
So he's kind of taking this like, you know, it's better to have an innocent man a guilty man go free than an innocent man be incarcerated approach to like transitioning.
I have not made that argument.
Yeah,
I have said that the thing that we need to be looking at is the number of false positives versus the number of people with gender dysphoria. I literally made that argument with
I know
Hunter
you have,
Avalon.
right.
Okay.
I understand. That's not what Jordan Peterson's saying though. He's taking that we need to rely on the number stats. He's saying more people will be harmed
Dude, that
by
is the
falsely
most
transitioning
charitable.
than not.
That is the most charitable interpretation
That's
of what
no,
he's
wait.
saying.
That's what he said. We'll go back. That's what
Let's
he just
listen
said.
to it again.
Consequences of the theoret with gender dysphoria, no matter how warranted, and perhaps it is in a very tiny minority of truly unfortunate cases.
Okay, so he's saying there are people with gender dysphoria right there.
Right, and before
To
this,
suffer
remember,
the
he says he talked about omission versus doing it
Right.
with the
He's-
doctors. That's what he's talking about.
He's saying a sin of not intervening on the people who should have some intervention.
Versus the sin of doing nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Or causing the harm, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Over the
Right.
sin of intervening wrongly.
Right.
Consequences of the theoretical mismatch between soul and body is less of a risk ethically, personally, socially, and philosophically than the extremely active intervention that constitutes so-called gender confirming, another hated phrase, surgery.
Yeah, he's saying, and first of all, I disagree with this, what he's saying, but he's saying we shouldn't be transitioning. No one should be transitioning because there's just too many false positives, so we should just do away with the entire process.
I still think he's not making that super clear.
He's not making it super clear.
Not in a
I
way
agree with
I've
you.
argued for it again and again.
He's
and
not
again.
making, stop. He's not saying what you're saying.
No, not in the way that I've argued that this is a relevant point. False positives versus people with gender dysphoria. He's not, none of this is clearly articulated in any way that
He's not making,
someone's
okay.
going to walk away and go, oh, he's talking about the difference between false positives and people with gender dysphoria.
Listen, he's not making your point. You understand that, right? He's making
Adam, he didn't
he's
understand
making
your arguments,
a
but he's trying to
different
make them.
point.
He is
Okay.
saying, listen, I'll say, you tell me if I'm wrong here. He is saying that there are a tiny fraction of people who have gender dysphoria,
Yes.
and there are a lot of people who have false positives. And to
Yes.
avoid, the harm caused by the false positives,
Right.
we should not allow anyone to transition.
Yes.
Okay. Now, a psychologist who should be arguing for, well, why can't we just figure it out with psychology? That's my whole fucking job. I can
Right,
figure out
right.
who has a gender dysphoria and who's a false positive. Why don't we just
Exactly.
do that? That
Okay.
seems like a thing
Exactly.
to do. This is the argument that I have been making. I've been saying, listen, Hunter Avalon, you don't know how many false positives there are out there. And Hunter Avalon's like, yes, I do. It's like 3. Okay. Jordan Peterson is coming out here without a shred of fucking evidence and saying, oh, it's off the charts. Oh, okay. Well, who made you fucking king? I understand this stuff.
Right.
Like, you just literally shredded all of your credibility as a psychologist. And now you're going to come out here and tell me, oh, I know that it's the false positives are off the charts because I'm a psychologist. No, too little, too late.
Well,
He's also almost certainly is conflating like seeking therapy with getting gender affirming surgery, right? Like not
Yeah.
that many people get surgery. It's pretty rare.
well, we don't know what the false positive
But
ratio is.
Sitch-
at all
Yeah,
yet.
there's not
Okay.
good information on any of this.
Right.
Sitch, as clearly as we are talking about this, as clearly as I just laid that out, do you think out of the 2.7 million people that watched this video, do you think they're going to walk away from this video? How many people are going to walk away from this video understanding the technical aspects of what we just discussed?
The three of us and everyone listening.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
I don't disagree.
Yes.
Nobody.
I don't disagree at all.
Be precise in your
Yes,
speech.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
tear that out of the book,
Right.
guys.
But-
burn that chapter.
My problem with what he's saying is different. My problem with what he's saying is that, to me, the question isn't how many people are false positives for transition, and if there's too many, you just get rid of it. Okay, because we've had gender dysphoria
Forever.
and transitioning treatments for long before this became the public issue it became.
And they used to really try to figure out who had it and who didn't. Yes.
Right. So I don't think you can just. So to me, it's wrong to point the finger and say, like, well, we have to do away with transitioning. It's like, no. Transitioning, the process isn't the problem. The problem is this culture that it has now arisen around it over the last 5 or 6 years or so, about associating it with an identity and everything being affirmative. You just affirm, and all that stuff. That's the issue.
I agree. Yes.
Like really quickly, this is not at all a problem limited to trans issues. This has been going on since the 1950s. Like the number of people who report like DID and seek treatment for that is like
of course.
fucking thousands of times
Yeah,
higher
and,
than
you
the
know,
number of
ADD
people who like
obviously is a
actually
prime
have it. Yeah, and there's
example.
people that seek drugs. I mean, like there are already established mechanisms. This is a very well understood thing. It's called validation, like of a psychological, problem. It's like you have a differential diagnosis for a reason. It's like I don't understand. I feel like both as a public figure and as an expert in psychology, he has a responsibility to like not say shit like this because it's just kind of crazy. I don't know. It's pretty far out of left field to me. There's so many rungs his rhetoric could be below this that would be reasonable. It seems really, really extreme.
It does seem, I agree. It does seem like this opinion came out of left field, and I don't know what sparked it exactly. It goes against a lot of what he said before this.
Yeah. I mean, like he was always really insistent that he would use people's pronouns, right? And he's like just intentionally not doing that.
Yeah, I feel like Ben Shapiro had one sit down with him, and he was like, "That whole thing about respecting trans people, that's not going to happen anymore."
Well,
okay?
I don't want to listen. I don't want to throw blame at.
This is the comedy part of the show.
I don't want to make up a story that like Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro comes. Yeah, that's not going to happen now. Okay?
Ben Shapiro comes in and is like, Jordan, listen, fuck all this trans stuff. Okay, throw out all the trans. Get rid of it. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah.
You're working for me now.
Ben invites him into his office. Listen, Jordan, listen. Okay. And he pulls out his checkbook, clicks his pen. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be, Jordan. Okay.
Matt Walsh comes in and stands behind him while he's talking.
Just nods. Yes.
Uncomfortably in the shadows.
Right.
I might also point out that the trans surgery enterprise is now a $300 million per annum growth industry.
Jesus fuck. Oh my God. This video is so bad.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Sorry, I'll play it again.
Rate of projected expansion, 15% per year. Projected increase by 2027 to $750 million per year. An expanding enterprise.
Well, you might have an issue with him bringing up the economic stuff, but I think the growth point is a fair point. Why would there shouldn't be this tremendous expected growth in this industry?
I agree. I completely agree with him on this. My whole thing is you shredded your credibility. Now, like you had an opportunity to make this point from an academic, respectable perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's wrong. It's just that this is the kind of rhetoric that gets used in like really fucked up arguments about like basically anything.
Sure.
Enterprise of global uncertainty. Time to invest both in the requisite surgical skills and perhaps in any industry associated with this vicious and unconscionable fad, primarily entangling, as such things so often do, the youthful and female. Isn't that a concern, intersectionalists? Not when push comes to shove or ideology to scalpel. Is that not a true moral hazard?
Is that you making sounds in the back?
That's my chair squeaking.
And I'm not taking down that tweet or acknowledging that my tweet violated the Twitter rules. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. Twitter's a rat hole in the final analysis, and I have probably contributed to that while trying to understand.
Why are you laughing? Sitch, this is very serious. Okay.
He just called trans surgery a vicious and unconscionable fad, and now he's like, I can't believe the thumbnail to this video isn't him with fucking tape over his mouth. That would just be the fucking chef's kiss. It would be absolutely perfect.
This is a little. Have you seen Waking Life, right, Adam?
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah,
it's great.
Linklater.
He's you know the part with Alex Jones where he's like on the megaphone.
Oh,
and his face is
yes.
red and he's just like shouting.
Yes.
Like, he's in a car and he's just shouting at people like driving by. Like it's a little over the top.
Twitter is a rat hole. Sitch, come on, get into it. People are stoked about this.
No, I like Jordan Peterson. I'm not taking joy with him, doing things that I think are silly. Okay.
I hear you laughing though. That's the thing. We can hear
he's
you
uncomfortable.
laughing.
It's uncomfortable. Laughter.
It's uncomfortable laughter, even I know that.
Yes.
And master that horrible, toxic platform. No doubt I owe some apologies for that, and I'm trying to learn. But it's a relief in some real sense to be banned, and I regard it under the present conditions as a badge of honor.
See, and then now on Daily Wire, subscribe to watch Jordan Peterson Uncensored. See, this is like the icing on the cake here. How is this not? Look, let's show them what they'll get if they sign up and subscribe. The totally unhinged, transphobic Jordan Peterson.
I was hoping the video was going to end with a plug for Truth Social.
Oh,
Here's interesting. Here's a Newsweek article. So Jordan Peterson would rather die than delete Elliot Page tweet.
okay.
It says last week, those close to Jordan Peterson revealed that Twitter has suspended his account, and he could get it back within 12 hours if he deleted a tweet which mentioned back when pride was a sin, and they put pride in a capital P.
What is that? You mentioned that made a difference, and I don't know
Because
how.
capital P pride means pride, like
Gay
Pride
pride?
Month.
Okay.
Yeah, gay pride.
I got
Or
you.
lowercase p pride just means, the concept of pride.
Yeah, you're right. I get it.
So,
Well,
so
okay, but-
Newsweek, and when Jordan Peterson, he did not capitalize it. So Newsweek, whether intentionally or unintentionally, as you said, Adam, they confuse it to be like an anti-gay thing or an anti-LGBT thing.
Mhm.
Wait, but didn't Peterson say that was kind of like an intentional parallel thing in this video, or am I misremembering?
What?
I thought he was talking about that early on in the video. I got the impression that he like chose his language kind of intentionally.
No. What I'm saying is, when Jordan Peterson says, remember when pride was a sin, he is specifically talking about taking pride, like excessive pride in oneself. He's not saying that like being gay is a sin.
But
If
he
you
knows
write capital P pride is a sin, then you could say, oh, maybe he's saying being gay is a sin.
He knows the double meaning, though.
Okay, well, I'm saying I thought it was interesting that Newsweek capitalized the P, so they obviously took it as the anti-gay
But yeah, that is almost certainly intentional.
connotation. So
I would assume that's intentional.
Yeah. Let's defend him against Newsweek now.
well, Lance and other people were claiming that Peterson deleted the tweet, and I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know where they got this from.
Okay, so you were looking into that? Yeah, I didn't. I
Wait, don't
looked.
they take down if you get suspended? They take down the tweet, right?
Yeah, so the only way you would know if he deleted the tweet would be if he started tweeting again.
And I looked at his timeline and I didn't see the tweet, so I didn't know if he deleted
but
it.
as Doomer said, if you tweet something that they don't like, they
They
get rid
take
of
it down.
Yeah,
Right. And then they put it
Yeah.
up on a plate and say, listen, you have to, we've saved this for you to delete. Here.
You see this piece of dog shit here?
Here is what
We're
you
gonna-
left in the toilet. Now you flush it.
Yeah, it's like we're removing you from our platform for saying this thing, but we're going to leave the thing up. Like what? No,
No, they
Yeah,
don't.
so I don't
doesn't
know.
make any sense.
I don't know what people were talking about when they claimed that he deleted the tweet. I think they're just idiots, and they just looked on his timeline and said, "Well, the tweet's not there, so he
Okay,
must have deleted it."
that might be it.
Thing.
You just called Stephen Michael Davis an idiot, but I forgive you.
Oh, Steven.
I think he said, I think Jordan Peterson might have deleted the tweet. So
Mhm.
I think he dialed it back. But obviously Lance was like, he deleted the tweet. Look, it's gone. Guilty.
There you go.
So
Look, Lance gets a little over enthusiastic about things on Twitter sometimes. Okay.
do we have any closing thoughts on this, or can we put this
I
one
like
to
Hot
bed?
Diggity Demon in the chat said he says up yours like it's some kind of egregious insult. He might as well have said eat my shorts.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty
true.
good.
Listen, Jordan Peterson's a boomer. Okay, it's an old man. It's an old man insult.
Should I cancel the poll out?
Yeah,
Are
you
you
can
comfortable with
Wow, we had good response. Almost 800 people respond. Almost everyone that's watching technically responded. So,
they were
yeah.
begging for the poll. That's why I was like, why don't you?
There you go.
Sitch doesn't want
Because
to do
I
a
don't think
poll.
it's that useful. Just when I don't think everyone's kind of interpreting the tweet somewhat in their own head. So it's like, well, do you agree with your own interpretation of the tweet? It's like, I don't know. But I guess I don't know. I guess judging from this video, I have to say that the interpretation of the tweet is nobody should transition, and any doctor that performs transition surgery is a criminal or is doing something immoral. That seems to be what he's saying.
And
So,
44%
He might have been
of
saying they're a Nazi.
there you go.
Well, I think he was saying that they're the equivalent of Nazis.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
Right.
How do I? It looks
How
like
dare they?
okay.
I ended it already.
It wouldn't let me do it. Yeah.
By the way, chat, we are 33 likes off of 500, so you know what to do.
Thank you, Doomer.
Based.
So
Yeah, I just saw it go
closing
up.
thoughts, or are we just putting this one to bed? Doomer, you have any final thoughts on the?
It's
Jordan
sad and
Peterson.
fucked up. I've been defending this dude for a while, and I'm probably not going to anymore because I don't know. This is pretty bad.
Should we look at super chats related to it before we close the segment?
Well, we don't have to include those with the video, and this video is pretty long anyway. So,
Okay.
do you have any closing thoughts, or I mean, I feel like I've said everything. I know. I mean,
No.
guys, I know a lot of you hate me now, but it's okay. We can still,
It's okay, Adam. You're right.
we can still be
If you
friends.
offended chat,
Okay.
that's based.
My only thought is again is what I said earlier. I don't like the tweet. I really don't like Jordan Peterson's video about the tweet. I would like to ask him about it. If he'll come on the show, we'll reach out to him. There's a good chance he won't because he's a big deal and we're a small potatoes. But I'm not at a point to throw him under the bus just yet.
Well, I don't want you to think that I'm at the point where I'm not going to be defending Jordan Peterson, but I'm not going to be disparaging Jordan Peterson. You make it sound like, I mean, I'm not going to be actively
Okay.
going out and
Well, that's
calling
good.
Jordan Peterson a transphobe or anything
That's
like
good.
that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well,
I
that's good.
feel like I feel like Jordan, it's exactly the same as the James Lindsay stuff. I feel like he was the perfect, he was my chosen one. Okay. He was the perfect person to deal with this
No,
issue.
I agree. And, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is, and I think a lot of, Jordan Peterson might feel this way, and a lot of people that still defend Jordan Peterson's recent take is that they'll say, well, it didn't matter because the media still slandered him that way. Anyway, but I think it did matter.
It
'cause as
did
I said,
matter.
because you could always point to what he actually said and say, listen, that's not what he actually said. That's what a fake news headline says.
Right.
And but now it is actually what he's saying, at least regarding the trans stuff. So
Yeah. Yes.
oh well.
All
Oh,
right.
well.
Yeah. My take is that this video is about 3 times worse than January 6th. So Peterson should probably be in prison.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.